Hi, my name is Adriane Orion, Principal Architect at Form & Light Architects, and I'd like to talk to you about what architects do. And there's going to be a lot of people that give you a lot of answers, and the answer I'm going to give you is the right one. The only thing we do is solve problems. That's it. So I could honestly say that, one of the most important parts about being an architect is we are positioned uniquely to help human beings. Currently, we live in a world in which Kenya is experiencing a lot of problems in terms of providing families housing with dignity. So we, as a firm, are tackling this problem. So how do we do that? Through an architectural lens. Because as an architect, we have so many different factors that go into creating a building. For example, maybe you've noticed that you've never walked through a doorway and you've never hit your head. That's because an architect planned it that way. Maybe you've noticed that if there's a gentleman in a wheelchair, that he's able to go into a restaurant and have enough clear space to go and sit and enjoy a family, with you and your family. That's because an architect thought about him to sit there. Maybe you notice the fact that we have a lot of hurricanes that spin around in our area with lots of really strong winds and rains, but then after the hurricane, we get to stay all safe and sound in our buildings and our homes and our houses. That is because architects utilize mathematics, science, and engineering in a whole variety of ways, a really broad spectrum, to make sure fundamentally that we keep you safe. We're highly engaged and invested in the concept that architecture has the power to create meaningful change in communities. Science, technology, mathematics, and engineering is heavily embedded in my everyday practice. So for example, even something as basic as trigonometry, if you want to design infrastructure in Southwest Florida, then you need to understand the azimuth and altitude of the sun, create a trigonometric relationship with your infrastructure. And that trigonometric relationship is going to define whether or not you've created a building that could sustain thermal loading or not. Any type of math, you name it, any type of science, you name it, it is in architecture. It's there, and how you engage with it is going to determine what type of building you have. I mean, you look at Zaha Hadid. She engaged a form of mathematics called parametric design. So it's largely computational. But in terms of how to math and architecture interface, well, that's what she did, and she developed a whole new type of architecture that the planet Earth has never seen before. But all of these things, quite frankly, it's like you can't put the first shovel in the ground unless you know how big the sidewalk has to be. You can't drive the first truck over the road unless you know how compacted, unless you know a lot about your soil, how compacted it's going to be, how much water can that soil hold. I truly believe that architecture has the ability to create institutional change within a community on a meaningful level if you have the motivation and the ambition and the vision to make it happen. And so for me, I see problems in our community that could be solved with architectural solutions. So from a broader standpoint, in terms of what I'm doing back in my hometown, it's that fundamentally, I think that architecture is a profession that is a force for good if we let it be.